All right, so I just watched episode 2 of Marvel's Nick Fury Power Hour, aka Marvel's Secret Invasion. And I thought that this was another solid episode. In fact, I think I would have to rank this episode higher than the first. So yeah, that's good that it's showing improvement. Or improvement? Yeah, that's how the camera shows it to you guys. Improvement. um, yeah, so I'm still unclear. I still can't really tell if Nick Fury is putting an act. I'll say that. Oh, and by the way, this is going to be a spoiler discussion, so I'm going to talk spoilers. But yeah, I still can't tell if Nick Fury is pretending to be this like old, off of his game sort of character, and he has plans B, C, and D, and he knows everything going on with the scrolls, and he's scheming and whatnot, or if he genuinely is just old and broken and busted. it's a little unclear. I mean, we do see, right, like scenes where he's by himself, and it's not like he sort of like molds himself back into character, right, when he's not interacting with people. Like there's that scene after he like breaks Rhodey's security guard's hand. Like we see him on a park bench and he's like wheezing. So I mean, he definitely has like physically deteriorated, but it's like mentally. Is he truly broken mentally, or is he playing a game? I can't. I sincerely can't tell. And that is a plus for the show because there's always just this very like there's just this aura of like tension whenever Nick Fury's like doing something or whenever he's talking with somebody, because I'm trying to figure him out, then you're trying to figure out the other guy, like how much do they know, like what's going on with them, like when he had that inner confrontation with Talos. It's like I'm watching him do that. I'm like, does Nick Fury can Nick Fury tell that he's not actually Talos, maybe? But then it seems like no, that was Talos. But then the confrontation comes from the fact that Talos was hiding from Nick Fury, that that a bunch of more scrolls came to Earth. But then it's like, did Nick Fury really not know? Like, is that something that Nick Fury couldn't suss out? Was that something that Talos was actually able to keep from Nick Fury? And it's just weird. Not in a bad way necessarily, because again, it does add sort of that added tension, but it's just a little like I can't tell exactly what's going on. Um, but anyways, yeah. But then we learn more about Gravik and how he came here as a child, and even as a child, he apparently was capable, and he seemingly got his hands dirty as a child back on whatever their home planet is called, and he made his way over to Earth. So you could tell when he was a child that he was something was off about him. But yeah, and so then they really hammer home that yeah, Nick Fury promised them a home, and he has not delivered on that promise. And I really liked that in the interaction with Talos. Actually, going back to that, when Nick Fury stated that like humans can't even get along with each other. We're like we've been at war since we've been able to walk upright. Like humans will not accept a new species, and it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I mean that is a likely thing. Like, were aliens to drop down on Earth, would humans want to accept them into their society? Um, especially when you look at all the problems that we have, where it's like, I mean, I could totally see people being like, we don't even have healthcare. What are we gonna do? What are we doing accepting aliens into our in crossing our borders? It's it already happens, right? When a country to country, right? You do have these sentiments towards immigrants. I mean, and obviously this is all metaphorical for real stuff like immigration and stuff, but it's not even inaccurate. I don't know. It's because it's one of those things where like where like last episode I was like, oh yeah, no, like the scrolls are like so totally right. Like they have been objectively wronged here, but I don't know. I guess I wasn't necessarily thinking it from that perspective of like, because even then I was like, why don't they just let them be scrolls here on Earth? Although now that I'm thinking about it, I always like this. I record these right afterwards, so I'm still like sort of processing it. The Asgardians are on Earth, but maybe so I don't know that actually. Yeah, now that I think about it, I feel like humans in the MCU would be more accepting to the scrolls because the Asgardians are on Earth. Um, I mean, although they do look more humanoid, right? The Asgardians, but the Rock guy is there. He's just kind of there, right? So I don't know. I don't know. That would be that'd be interesting. I think, but I do think the majority of Asgardians look humanoid, so it's probably not that big of a deal. Um, but I guess the thing with the scrolls is that they. I mean, it's. I mean, I totally get it, right? Like the idea of not being able to walk around in your own skin, right? Like imagine if like you know black people had to do whiteface every day just to be able to participate in society. Like that is like an awful state of being, right? Um, so yeah, I mean, they do add a bit more complexity to the situation where it's like obviously fighting like finding a hospitable planet isn't an easy task, right? And just forcing humans to just like introducing scrolls to humanity is not an easy task either. So I will concede to Nicholas Fury that it's maybe not quite as simple as maybe one might think. But then I mean I still totally understand the Skrulls' point of view. Do I understand them performing terrorist attacks? Right? Not necessarily. You don't need to murder innocent people, so that's where they lose me a bit there. Um, and but yeah, no, I did really like Gravik, and sort of the backstory on him and the fleshing out of his character, um, and I really like the actor. He's giving like a pretty like good sort of chilling performance where he's very like unemotional, but clearly very like it's like he's not very emotional, but you can totally see the anger in everything that he does, and he's pretty ruthless as well, right? Because they kill that other scroll guy that obviously ratted part of their operation out. So that part is pretty cool. Um, and yeah, also going back, then going to that scene where the scroll guy is being interrogated, pretty gory, like surprisingly gory. Like we saw Olivia Colman straight up cut off that guy's finger. Like it's pretty gnarly. We saw and then even when the scrolls arrive and they're like killing all the guards, it's like we see like blood splatter and stuff, and it's like okay, like I think this show is still rated like TV YA 14, whatever the TV rating is for PG 13, but they're kind of pushing it a bit, which I thought was I don't know, like not that gore makes anything like makes things like better or worse necessarily, but it was pretty cool to see. And then yeah, so and then I think the other interesting part of the episode is definitely Sam Jackson and Rhodey's interactions. I thought they were great. I thought that was like this episode's probably this episode's Sam Jackson and Olivia Colman moment where you just see two really good actors bouncing off each other, and I thought that whole interaction was great. And again, that's just like you're watching that scene and you're really seeing Nick Fury just being portrayed as a broken old man, like weirdly pulling out the race card, and it's like, are you? I think like I'm watching the scene, and I'm like, I think Nick Fury might just be old and broken and dusty. I, I like, is this really a part of his master plan to also like be disconnected from the government? Maybe does that somehow give him some kind of advantage, or I still can't tell, but I am starting to lean more in favor of no, he legitimately just isn't the same Nick Fury that he once was. But either way, his dynamic with Rhodey was definitely cool. Um, and also another thing, they mentioned at some point, I can't remember exactly when in the episode, Nick Fury mentions that he can't bring in the Avengers because if the Skrulls were to copy one of the Avengers, that they would have their powers. He said that, right? I think he did. So that's interesting because I think that's a thing in the comics, right? Where Skrulls can also copy like metahuman powers. So that's interesting. And actually, now that I think about it, going back to when Daenerys Targaryen was looking at the computer, I saw that they had like Groot DNA or like Groot something having to do with Groot. So are they trying? Oh, and they said that they were making the Skrulls more powerful. So are we gonna see like Skrulls with like Groot powers? Because there is that scene in the trailer where like he like shoots out his arm and he's like it's like a Mr. Fantastic arm because it's like kind of stretchy. But is it maybe that's more like Groot powers, right? Huh. That's the stuff that I'm theorizing. Oh yeah, and then the episode ends with Nick Fury going to a house, going to a home, and there's like a Skrull lady cutting up a cucumber, and then he walks into the house, and he gives her a smoochy smooch. So Nick Fury has a Skrull wife. That's pretty interesting. I couldn't tell if it was the same lady that he was talking to at the beginning of the episode, at the flashback. Oh, by the way, speaking of that flashback, decent de-aging. Some of the better de-aging that I think I've seen. I wonder if they're using similar assets, or if they're like reusing some of those assets from Captain Marvel, because I was like shocked to see de-aging that good on a TV show. I also noticed that the shots were always like from the side of Nick Fury. It was a little awkward because I'm assuming like having a ton of like front facing shots would have maybe exposed it, but doesn't matter because from everything we saw, it was pretty decent. So I want to give that shout out. But then yeah, I couldn't tell if it was the same Skrull lady from that flashback where Nick Fury was talking to her, and she was introducing Gravik to him. I'm not sure. But either way, they gave each other a smoochy smooch at the end of the episode, Nick Fury and this Skrull lady. So yeah, I guess has Nick Fury always had that wife? I would assume so. Like throughout every time that we've seen him in the MCU, right, post Captain Marvel chronologically. So that's pretty cool. I'm scared because I feel like again Gravik is very much setting up this idea that he wants to tear down Nick Fury, right? He doesn't just want to kill him. He doesn't want to give him what he wants. He wants to tear him down, and he's gonna go after everybody that he loves and blah blah blah, right? Your traditional villain stuff. So I don't imagine this lady's gonna survive. But hopefully Nick Fury will be able to protect her, and hopefully he's not broken and busted, and he is in fact just playing an act. But I'm starting to think that he's not. So we'll wait and see. But anyways, what did you think of episode 2 of Secret Invasion? Thought it was pretty solid. Thought it was better than the first. So yeah, hopefully this trajectory continues. Because I'm still not at the point where I'm like, this isn't as good as Andor. It doesn't need to be, but I just heard that it was going to be the MCU's Andor, and it's not. It's not that. But maybe it'll turn into that. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Goodbye.